All eyes are on Washington today as the Euro gang, including Keir Starmer, hot-footed across the Atlantic to pay homage to the New World Order, descending on the White House, where they're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, as Donald Trump suggests that they go along with his peace plan, a peace plan that he's forged with Vladimir Putin, at least he thinks he did, on Friday when they got together in Alaska. It clearly is going to involve the cessation of territory by Ukraine to Russia, specifically the Donbass and, of course, the Crimea, which they've already got. But Zelensky's line has always been, we make no territorial concessions to Russia. Sounds like a bit of a standoff, a bit of an impossible situation. There's also talk, if we do get some kind of a peace, don't forget, we've gone from talk of a ceasefire, that was changed, the goalposts were changed on Friday. Oh no, talking about a permanent peace now. That could involve some kind of peacekeeping force from NATO countries on the ground in Ukraine. It all sounds a little bit fanciful. Let's get the American angle. Let's get perhaps Donald Trump's angle from the former deputy campaign manager of Donald Trump's campaign in 2016, Rick Gates. Hello, Rick. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be with you, Kevin.
What's your take on this? As I understand it, tell me if you differ from my analysis. So Putin and Trump got together. A lot of people saying, "Oh, Trump shouldn't have rolled out the red carpet. The optics were a bit uncomfortable." But that notwithstanding, they had this sit down, 3 hours or so. It looks as if they came to some kind of a deal, some kind of agreement that will involve Zelensky having to hand over land to Putin, including the Donbass and the Crimea. We've always heard that Zelensky just won't do that. We've got the European nations, including our nation, leaders, Keir Starmer, heading for Washington today to go to the White House with Zelensky, presumably to tell Trump, no, we won't agree to giving Putin any land. Do you agree that that probably is where we're at? And if so, do you feel, as I do, that Donald Trump will basically say, well, listen, take it or leave it. If you want this war to trundle on, then by all means go right ahead. But we're not going to be helping you anymore. You can do it on your own. Or otherwise, will we have to accept some kind of land grab? What's your analysis, Rick?
Yeah, I think overall that's a pretty good take on it, Kevin. I think what the U.S. is looking for is to carry forward with the momentum that the president and Putin developed on Friday and find out where Zelensky really is. Look, I mean, there's three parts to this. You get Putin to the table. He did that on Friday. You get Zelensky to the table, see what his positions are going to be, and then you need to get the two of them to the table, Zelensky and Putin, to really finalize this. And I think the president is very keen to get a deal done. If you know anything about the way President Trump works, there's give and there's get, and you have to have both components. I think that Zelensky is posturing to a large extent. I think he's always believed that there may be some sort of land, whether it's big, it's small, but there's got to be something to get both sides to the table to agree. And frankly, I think that the European leaders are there for two particular reasons: to make sure Zelensky doesn't go off a cliff like he did the last time he was in the Oval, and also sensing that there may be a breakthrough here, and they want to be a part of that. They want to be a part of the success if there is something to come out of that.
I've always thought, Rick, and I said this last week ad infinitum, that this was always, Alaska and the subsequent events were always for Trump win-win. Insofar as in the off chance that some kind of peace is agreed, fantastic. Everybody says Donald Trump isn't he amazing? He's achieved peace. He probably gets that Nobel Peace Prize. I never thought that's that important to him, but he would get that on that basis. But more than anything, he would be seen as the man who brought peace to that war-torn region, Ukraine. So he gets that. That's brilliant. That's the off chance. But the chances always have been that because of Putin's demands, that Europe, Zelensky and the Euro leaders will say no, And at that point, Donald Trump, as I say, win-win, is able to turn around and say, well, listen, I've done everything I can. You know, I've really pulled out all the stumps here. I've tried everything. I've offered you a peace deal. You've said no. Fine. That's your prerogative. It's a European war. We walk away. It's your war from now on. Therefore, America saves billions and billions of dollars. Do you agree with that analysis?
Yeah, I think in large part, if President Trump doesn't get or see some sort of breakthrough today, he has always said from day one this was not his war. It would have never started under his watch. That was certainly validated by Vladimir Putin on Friday, which I thought was one of the best lines from their press conference, with Putin saying this would not have started if President Trump had been president. So you take kind of all these factors, and then you look at the billions that the American government has spent, the American people through taxpayer dollars has spent on this. Yes, the president is very frustrated with both sides. I think he clearly understands how Putin is operating, and I clearly think he understands what Zelensky is thinking. But at the same time, you got to get to peace. And if there is no peace, then he will say, fine, I did everything in my power I could. I did everything to get everybody to the table. They just didn't want peace. And then we go back to really relying on Europe to solve it. But we started with this from day one, and nobody in the world believes that a Macron or a Starmer can solve this process.
Yeah, let me ask you about this. Of course, J.D. Vance over here enjoying the wonders of Britain for his vacation. He said earlier, or last week, he said in terms of, you know, pouring billions and billions of American dollars into Ukraine, weapons as well, he actually said, we're sick of it. We're sick of it. I actually think a lot of people in Britain feel that way as well. But America is ready to walk away. So depending on what happens today, it's going to be a very definitive meeting between Zelensky, the Euro leaders, and Trump. I think it may define the very future of what happens in Ukraine.
Oh, no question. I think the structure of the meetings today, I thought was very interesting. How we have the European leaders coming in at noon. They're going to kind of park those guys, you know, in one of the treaty rooms. And then Zelensky and President Trump are going to meet first. And then they'll have a series of multilateral meetings with the remaining leaders. So I think this is going to be very interesting to see how the dynamics come together in terms of what Zelensky is willing to bend on. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, he is going to have some tough choices to make. And if Zelensky seems so obstinate that he's not even willing to consider some of the options on the table, I think that's going to make it very difficult to get to a peaceful process in the end. And absolutely, the president and even the Republican Congress, for that matter, will probably say, enough's enough. We can't do anything more until these two leaders, Zelensky and Putin, can come together and come to an agreement. Nothing's going to get decided.
Last question, Rick. In the event that all that we've just discussed happens, that America basically goes, OK, your war, did our best, get on with it. Do you, as an observer of this entire scene, do you trust this alleged coalition of the willing to actually be enough to step up to the plate and, if you like, defend Ukraine's interests satisfactorily? Because you know what, these are European leaders. This is France, this is Germany, this is Italy, and even Britain. You know, I just suspect that when push comes to shove, when the moment happens that we have to step up to the plate, that the coalition of the willing will become the coalition of the unwilling. I am not convinced by this ostensible show of united front. Are you?
No, absolutely not. I think the European leaders are not as confident either, hence why they're over here in the United States trying to figure out a way to make this deal work. You know, there's a phrase, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And I think that's exactly what you have with the coalition of the willing. And I think that none of the European leaders, either individually or collectively, have been able to get as far as President Trump has in terms of getting Putin to the table, getting Zelensky to at least consider some of the options that would draw to, you know, a peaceful process. So absolutely not. If this process fails today, I am very concerned that there will be no peace, likely for a long time to come.
Yeah, me too, Rick. Good to talk to you, man. Rick Gates there, former deputy campaign manager for Donald Trump in 2016.